Hello, and welcome to Ending Physician Overwhelm. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Mello. I'm a family and obesity medicine physician, as well as a certified life coach for physicians. In this podcast, we talk about how the learned habits of people-pleasing, perfectionism, and a lack of boundaries show up in our lives and how they contribute to burnout, exhaustion, and overwhelm. The healthcare system is broken, my friends, but let's not wait for it to be fixed in order to feel better.
Oh, I'm just a family doc. Yeah, it's okay. You can just call me Megan. That's all right. I'm so lazy. These are words and phrases that we tend to say over and over again. And our words matter. Most of us don't realize how often we are saying things over and over again about ourselves that are feeding into our self-concept. And today we're going to talk about it because I am ready for us to move on from this. Let me tell you first a story about a recent coaching retreat I was at. So I'm in this room with a lot of other coaches, many of whom are physicians, not all of them. And we were at a break time and I was chatting with one of my friends who is a physician coach, and she was brilliant. And she was telling me about an upcoming opportunity to speak to her local state medical group's women's physician conference. She was so excited. She had put together a presentation in her brain. She had asked, if she could come and give this talk. She was just lit up. She was really excited about it. This was a group that she was really excited to speak to. And as she was talking, and she's like, and I'm so cheap. She didn't hear it, but I heard it. I'm so cheap. She's arguing there for the advantage that she brings. And the advantage that she brings in her brain is that she's low in cost. Now, what she meant was that she's local. She doesn't have to be flown in. She doesn't need a hotel room. She doesn't yet have an exorbitant speaker fee. She didn't know exactly, kind of what her speaker's fee should be. But what she said was, I'm cheap. She didn't hear it, but I heard it. And how many times do we do this to ourselves, completely unconscious of it? And yet, the language that we use about ourselves matters. Now, what I'm not going to tell you to do today is to stand in front of a mirror and repeat positive affirmations. There might be a role for that. I don't know. It's not something that I do. That's not what we're talking about here. What we are talking about here is making a decision to notice the words that we are saying about ourselves over and over again, to really look at their impact, and then decide what we want to do differently. If you find yourself saying things like, oh, I'm just a family doc, or, oh, I'm so lazy, or sorry to keep you waiting, today is exactly for you. So hang tight. Now, again, let's think about, in this example, what she said versus what she meant. What she said was, I'm cheap. And again, she was excited. This was a great opportunity for her. And yet, the argument that she made for them to select her was that I won't cost you very much. Now, that may be true, right? There are not travel expenses that have to be reimbursed. And again, she doesn't have a set speaker's fee. So yeah, she probably does cost less compared to some other speakers that they were bringing in that she knew about. But in telling them, and thus herself, that she's cheap, she is arguing that she is less valuable. Now, again, that's not what she's actually trying to communicate, but it still lands in us, often subconsciously, right? But we carry it around. Oh, I'm cheap. I'm easy. I'll work as hard as whatever. Our words are loaded. Think about the experience you might have. A patient is in your room, right? Maybe they're describing an example of another doctor that they worked with who was really difficult in some way, maybe really hard to reach, maybe not a good communicator, and you want to convey to this patient that their experience of you is going to be different. But what you say is, "Oh, call me anytime." We don't actually mean that. We don't mean call me anytime. We don't mean call us at 3 a.m. We don't mean call us every day. We might mean, I'm going to try and give you a better experience. I'm going to focus on us having better communication than that. What we don't mean is that I'm literally available to you at all times of the day, any day, every day. But when we say that, call me anytime, and we say that to people over and over again, and probably have some people in our lives who could call us anytime, what we are telling ourselves is that we have no rest. We have no downtime. We are constantly available to other people, and that has an impact on how we feel, right? It has an impact on how we think about what we owe other people. It matters. Words are not simply just a definition, right? Words are a definition plus the experiences that we have in saying them or using them over and over and over again. Think about the times that you've said something along the lines of, "I'm fine," but through gritted teeth. "I'm fine." What happens to the word fine? The word fine is no longer fine. It's not okay anymore, right? Because that word has gotten coupled with rigidity, tightness, resentment, frustration, right? It has changed. Think about the word wellness in the last 10 years, right? Physician wellness became this new phenomenon, right? And we all thought, oh, maybe our lives are going to be easier. Look at all these studies we have on burnout research, right? I remember going to lectures and conferences that were talking about, look at how terrible physicians are at, taking care of themselves. That's a whole different topic. But what happened, right? Wellness became this extra thing that we're supposed to do on the side where we didn't end up having less work. Most of us have still ended up with more work, less resources, less support. Wellness became loaded. It wasn't wellness anymore. You can't tell a group of overworked, hardworking humans who are caregivers by their very core nature and have the most experience and expertise to take care of human bodies, that they should be taking better care of themselves when we're making them work more, right? The experience of physician wellness became toxic to most of us. The words matter. Now, we aren't going to sit here and start overanalyzing every word that drips out of our mouth. Please, let's not do that. Let's not waste our time in doing that. But again, we're going to look for language that we use, things that we've adopted from other people, ways that we are speaking to others about ourselves, and think about where we would like to make a change, right? The things we choose to carry matters, and we get to choose stories that are positive or negative. Why not make the choice that we're going to do things that help to support more of what we want? So let's get back to my friend. So she's so excited, right? She is eager to, when we're done with the conference, she's gonna go home and she is gonna work on drafting materials that she needs to submit for this talk. And she says, "I'm cheap." And I chose to offer her, "Hey, how about we change that a little bit? Instead of saying I'm cheap, how about I'm the obvious choice?" And I dropped those words and I watched what happened. And it's something that I've seen happen over and over again, right? The words filter in through our brain, of course, through our lived experience. And I could see it in her body. I could see it in her face. Think of times that you've shared something with a patient, right? And the way that you can see it moving through them. I'm the obvious choice. Now, again, she is going to be lower in cost than someone who has a certain speaker fee that's already well established and someone who needs to be flown in from out of town, right? So there is a cost difference between these two speakers as it currently stands. But I'm the obvious choice brings a different energy because we are no longer arguing that we should be making this decision based on our budget. We're now arguing that everything about her as a speaker, everything about her showing up there is the right thing. I watched what happened to her, and she kept coming back to it throughout the day. And she actually went back to the hotel that night. She decided that that energy was so palpable in her body that she actually put together the presentation. Thank goodness we're in this era, right, where we can word vomit and download a lot of things and create materials much more quickly than we used to be able to. But she submitted a beautiful proposal. She sent it off that night to the woman who was organizing this conference. And in the middle of our session the next day, she got back a text. And they said, "Hey, we are so excited. You are the answer to my prayers. We're adding you as a second keynote speaker." They were going to buy copies of the book that she was referencing. They were so excited because she was the obvious choice. She brought that energy to what she sent them. And she made herself the obvious choice. The words matter, but not always the way that we think. Now, the words "I'm the obvious choice" did not create the talk. It did not create the proposal. It did not create the presentation. But what it did was help to put her in an emotional state of resonance where she was able to lean in when she was tired, to choose to put this together, right? And to get something that she really wanted. That makes the difference. And now every time she thinks about pitching herself as a speaker, she gets to come back to that language. I'm the obvious choice. Maybe she'll come up with something better. When she walks into that room and gives the second keynote, she's going to walk in with that energy of, I'm the obvious choice. How magical is that? The words that we say, especially about ourselves, matter, right? Because everything that we say out loud about ourselves, who we are, what we bring to the table, what we argue for ourselves as the choice is, it matters because we hear ourselves. Think about times where you've said any of the following. I'm just a general surgeon. Yeah, that'll be fine. Yeah, I don't really care. Ugh, I'm so lazy. I'm so behind. I won't take up too much of your time. That happens to me a lot, where my physician patients come into my room or, join me on a Zoom call, right, for a patient appointment and say, I won't take up too much of your time. I stop them there too. And I say, I'm literally here for you. This is your space, right? This is your time to take care of your human self. And I'm here for you. Now, what other things come up, right? I could go down the rabbit hole there. I'm going to stop myself. What things are you saying to yourself and other people over and over again? And do you want to change your arguments? Another place that this comes up is in thinking about the ways that we talk about big changes that we're making. So I work with physicians, many of whom are in some kind of transition, or they're thinking about it. Maybe they're thinking about leaving their job. Maybe they're thinking about starting their own practice. Maybe they've done that, and maybe they're taking a break. The words that we use to describe that time also make a tremendous difference. We talked earlier this year about another physician friend who was laid off, and she is going to be starting something new, but she was worried about taking some time in between one job and the next. She was worried about what people were going to think. What we decided on was carrying the sentence, I chose to take the summer with my kids. I chose to take the summer with my kids. It still made her nervous, right? Because that sounds like something that physicians shouldn't do. And yet, if somebody chooses to judge her taking time to spend the summer with her kids, that says more about them than you, right? We get to craft the language that we carry. We get to craft the narratives that we tell. We get to craft the things that we will choose to say in reference to ourselves. I'm not just a family doctor. I'm a family medicine physician. I carry that expertise. It's broad. It's powerful. We get to choose. So I want you to think about some piece of language that you've been using, right? We're going to put this into practice. Some piece of language that you've been using. Now, pretty much any of us could start with tackling sorry. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Sorry to bother you. Sorry just as a response, right? It has become the throat clearing for so many of us, and especially if you're a woman physician. What happens when you say sorry? When you say sorry over and over again, you're putting yourself in the wrong, right? The cost is you are constantly thinking of yourself as owing other people and being in the wrong. It's not neutral. So that's an easy one to go after. What if instead of saying, sorry for keeping you waiting, we choose to say, thank you for your patience? The end result is not that different in terms of the actual words. The patient possibly has been waiting. We know that they were waiting because we were dealing with something else important with someone else because, of course, we're usually overbooked and whatever. Patient doesn't know that. But I choose to thank them, and I choose to acknowledge their patience, right? I'm reinforcing their patience, even if they were feeling like they had very little. I'm saying thank you and offering some gratitude back to them, right? So I'm highlighting gratitude and patience instead of highlighting apology, wrong, waiting. It's a subtle shift. It makes a difference. So that might be an easy one for you to start with. But Think about any phrase that you use over and over again. Call me anytime. I'm always available. Do we want to keep that? Pick something that you're going to start with. Notice where it comes up. Notice how often you say it. Is there something that you could say that is equally true, but argues for your value, argues for your goodness, right? Argues that you are not in the wrong. Choosing to make these little tweaks is often the first step in changing our self-image. When we use the language, I'm lazy, like, sorry, I don't want to bother you, sorry to intrude, we make ourselves in the wrong over and over again. When we say I'm cheap, right, we decrease our value to ourselves. We can choose to look at this and make a difference and choose to change our self-concept. So much of these thoughts and beliefs that we have about ourselves come from other people. They come from our experiences in growing up in families, or working with certain teachers, or the leadership, that we are a part of. We can look at that language. We can choose something different for ourselves and just start to practice. This is powerful work, my friends, and you can see how it can make a difference, right? Just try this. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. It makes a difference. So that's my invitation for you this week, is to think about, what am I going to choose to start saying differently? Again, we don't need to stand in front of the mirror and repeat things to ourselves. You can certainly do that if you want to, but let's pick something small and put it into practice as many times as you can. Language matters. The way that we think about ourselves matters, whether we're thinking about our value, our experience, our expertise. I recently noticed some areas in my own life where this was coming up, where I wasn't giving myself credit for part of my business, and I wasn't talking about it with kindness. I was carrying that with me everywhere that I went, and it was not serving me, because you know what? It was making me feel bad about that part. Now that I know, I'm choosing to think about it differently, and I'm going to practice that. We can all practice and decide how we want things to be different. It makes things better. I don't know. That's just what I'm going to say. The tiny things that we do over and over again stack up into big changes, right? You didn't start medical school thinking, I am a doctor. But by the end, you had been practicing the thought over and over again that when you graduated, you had at least a smidgen of thinking, I am a doctor. You didn't start your residency training thinking, I'm a neurosurgeon. But again, you might have gotten there because you did things over and over and over again, and you got there. Little things make a big difference. Our language makes a big difference. And I hope that you're going to choose to look at yours this week. If you find yourself really struggling with this, if you are thinking, God, I don't know where to start, I want you to book a call. This is a lot of work for most of us. And this is work that I do over and over again as I am helping physicians to recover from their experience of employed practice and learn how to build sustainable lives on the other side. Learning how to do things differently, learning how to reclaim our agency, learning how to choose to disentangle ourselves from this notion that we owe everything to everyone because of the work that we do. We can choose to make a change. And it starts by making a decision. So whether that's deciding, hey, I'm going to work on it this week, or whether that's scheduling a call with me, I hope this is one that you're going to choose to engage on. I can't wait to find out what happens. So please send me a line. You can reach me at Megan, Megan at healthierforgood.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next week, my friends, take care.
Well, that's our show for today. Thank you as always for listening. To learn more about my coaching programs, head to www.healthierforgood.com. And if you love this podcast, please drop us a review on iTunes or support the show by clicking the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care.